Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Erica and today I will be doing a review on the Tina Yong palette. Well, the palette she did with Pixi, and I believe this palette is called Feeling Fresh. You get 25 shades in here and it's a mix of neutrals and some pops of color. The palette weighs, well, you get 0.8 ounces of product or 22 grams of product. The main reason why I'm doing a review on this palette is because I didn't see too many reviews on this palette when I was trying to buy this. So actually, I saw this when I was at Target a couple of weeks ago, and I just had parked my cart near the Pixi stand, and I was trying to make sure that like everything on my grocery list was checked off, and then I saw this palette. I was looking up reviews while I was, right next to the stand and like just admiring this palette. I didn't see too many YouTube reviews on this. I did read a couple of written reviews. Either they really liked this palette or they really hated it. And a lot of reviews that were, against this palette said that it's not very pigmented and it just sucks. Which, I do agree it's not very pigmented, but that doesn't mean it sucks. So, as for my review on this palette, overall review, I think that this palette is better for a beginner because it is so sheer. You could build it up, but you would have to be like swiping and packing the eyeshadow onto your lid for quite some time before you can get like a very opaque color. And so, that's not for everyone, and personally that's what I prefer. I don't like super pigmented eyeshadows because I find them usually hard to blend and I don't like the look on me. I prefer more subtle makeup. Even though I like colorful eyeshadows as well, I just try to make it a little bit more subtle on my face, I guess. And even though it's not very pigmented, it's not patchy at all. So that's why I think that this palette is better for beginners. And you do have some pops of color at the bottom, so you can use this palette as an introduction to colors. Even though this palette is quite pricey, I think it's $25, or at least I paid $25 for it. And you could actually use this as your like one and only palette. You have browns for bronzer, some peach shades, some coral shades. That is not red, but you get the point. You could use those as corals, or you could just, blend some of these to make your blush. You could even use this as a highlighter, which I personally don't prefer super impactful highlighters, so I would not use this as a highlighter. In this palette, the mattes are more pigmented than the, I would say, satin shades, because these are not metallic at all. But that doesn't mean that they can't like be built up to be more pigmented, and I will show you later on how, like a tip or some tricks to make these more impactful. I do really recommend having at least a glitter glue if you are going to be working with this more seriously. And the glitter glue that I recommend is the NYX glitter primer. This is only $6.50 here in the US, and this works so well. This too is going to last you forever because you don't really need a lot. And this helps your glitters really pop, or like your non-mattes pop. And I do have 4 looks that I did, but I'm going to do swatches, both in natural lighting outside and, just regular indoor lighting. I hope you enjoy watching the rest of this video and the looks that I did as well. I think I did a wear test and this actually doesn't have fallout, which is great. So I wouldn't return this palette, even though it's not necessarily the best palette I've ever used. It's still something that I do like, and I can make it work. Now I'll insert these swatches and the looks I did. Okay, I really thought there was a beauty filter on, but I guess my face just looks smooth because of the lighting. Anyway, this is me up close as the camera will let me get. So yeah, now you can see like all my imperfections up close. I don't really care. So for the neutral look, I'm going to be, this is hard to hold up, but I'm going to be using this brown right here, which is called Crease. How fitting. So on my left eye, I'm going to be not using any primer. So Crease is a little bit more neutral than the other brown called Soft Fade. So taking it on my ring finger, which is supposed to be your most gentle finger, and so I shouldn't have used this finger to start with. But yeah, I'm just going to be going over my crease like so. I need a mirror, I don't know how this looks. I'm going to use the shade Gleam right here, which is this really pale gold. And I do not think this is going to end well because it is so light, but I can darken it with another color. I should so choose to. So I'm gonna tap that so you can see it right in the center and then blend it. It is very light. It might work. Okay, I'm gonna also just go over my crease with the same shade on my ring finger, which is Crease. Can you tell this is the first time I'm trying to do like a tutorial? Alright, it looks very light in person and on camera, but that's the point. So you can see how light it is. If you would like, you could take another shadow to darken it. What color should I use? I'm going to take the shade Daily Dose, which is right under Crease, and put it in my outer corner just to darken it a little bit. I think this as a look is pretty good for every day, but you know, if you want to add depth, you can use a darker color in the outer corner, like so, just to add a little bit of depth. And the good thing about this palette is that it's it's not very patchy, but it's also very light, so you could see that as like a good or bad thing. I personally prefer palettes like this where it's okay, the light just disappeared. I personally prefer palettes like this where it's buildable, but this is almost a little bit too sheer in my opinion. Like, I think the mattes are alright, but the metallics are on some next level of sheer, as you can tell. So I usually like to wipe my eye like this to clean up the edges. If you have a fluffy brush, that's probably a lot better. There. Okay, so that's this eye. No primer. I'm going to be using the Urban Decay eyeshadow primer potion in anti-aging. I don't actually know the difference between this one and the original primer potion because I don't really see the anti-aging effects of this. Anyway, this thing is, I hate this packaging. And yes, mine is very crusty around the edges. That's how you know it's well used and that the packaging sucks. So we're gonna take our pinky, which is clean, and just rub that all over my lid. Ooh, I am hungry. Okay, so going back in with the same shades that I used for my left eye. I think I'm dehydrated because I'm so disoriented right now. So Crease, normally I would, sticky. Normally I would put like a lid setting shadow over it, but that causes the eyeshadow to blend more smoothly, but it loses a bit of its pigment. So as you can see, it's definitely like a lot darker than my left eye. I'm going to be using my NYX glitter glue primer because Gleam is a I cannot talk today. Gleam is a metallic shade or satin shade, so I'm going to test using a glitter primer because I know with the regular primer it doesn't pop. thankfully you can't see the rest of my face because I am making such an attractive face right now. Like, you might just swoon if you see it. Okay, so now my eyelids are getting stuck together, so I'm going to apply it before my eyelids get stuck. So this is Gleam, and I'm just going to apply it while the primer is still wet. As you can see, it pops a lot more. When you tap your eyeshadow on, it's more pigmented. I'm tapping because the glue ain't dry. Now I can spread it because it's dry. So as you can see, it pops a lot more. But I don't like the color on me that much. This is more like an inner corner highlight for me. I'm gonna go back in with Daily Dose, which is this darker brown right here. Outer corner. Which, it's already kind of dark because I accidentally put too much of the crease eyeshadow in my outer crease, my outer corner. I honestly prefer how this side looks without primer because like I said, I normally put a lid setting shade over my eyeshadow primer so that it's more smooth. This side is definitely more pigmented, but like, I didn't really like the way it turned out. So I'm gonna put on some eyeliner and brows off camera. Okay, so this is what the final look looks like for today. I did my eyebrows way too thick. I feel like I look like a cave woman, and I don't normally do my eyebrows this thick, but I feel like if I didn't tell you, you wouldn't know. But anyway, yeah, this side has no primer at all. This side has two kinds of primer. I used my primer potion, just like the Urban Decay primer potion, first on this side, and then I also used a glitter glue on this side. So I actually prefer this side more, the side without any primer, because that's just my preference. I'm not wearing any mascara because I didn't want to potentially ruin my look, and also because I was too lazy. I just got back from a 10-mile bike ride, so I am tired. And then on this side, I like this side more. Just because I don't like how on this side the middle shade is like this bright, like pale gold that I don't really like. So yeah. But this video is more like informational, so like I feel like my opinion is just an opinion. The fact is, if you wear a primer, it's going to definitely pop a lot more. So you can take a look and see which side you prefer. Alright, I'll see you tomorrow for look number 2. So hello, this is day number 2 and we are zoomed back into my face. So for today's look, I'm going to be trying to do something more warm toned, or yeah, more of a warm toned neutral look, and then but it won't be pink because that'll be a whole separate look. So today I have applied primer to both my eyes because I wanted to do a day where I just show you guys how I normally would use this, so you can see all the different types of application and stuff like that. So I'm going to be taking a brush. It doesn't really matter which brush you, okay, maybe it does, but it's just like an eyeshadow brush. And I'm going to be setting my lids. So I'm going to be taking the shade Feeling Fresh, this shadow right up here in the upper corner, and applying that all over my lids, like so. So I'm going to be doing this for both eyes. And so even though this kind of dulls out the color a little bit, like the pigment that you'll put on top of it, it will blend much more easily, at least. That's what I prefer, so. And it's like a way to use up this kind of color. Like, I have no other way of using this. Can't set my under eyes with it because I don't wear foundation or concealer. I'm going to be going in with the shade Buttercup, which is at the end of the palette. So this is the top row. If I just lean far back, and if you can see it right here. So it's like a peach salmon color. So just like yesterday, I'm going to go over my crease. I have no idea how many coats that was, so I'm gonna do the left eye. I think it was at least 3. For these shimmers, I find that going in with your finger is the best, so I'm going to be going in with the shade Thriving, which is this one right here. It's the second from the bottom middle row right here. So as you can see, 4 rows down and then 1, 2 from the bottom. So going in with my ring finger, hopefully you can see that. It's like a pretty copper color. I hope I did my finger in the right shade. Yeah, it is. And I'm just gonna go over the lower third of my lid. I find that using a brush with this is only gonna give you grief. I think I'm going to line under my eyes because you can barely see my eyeshadow. So I'm going to take the shade, God, this is so hard to figure out. The shade Soft Fade, which is this one right here next to the lid setting shade I used earlier. There's 2 lid setting shades in here, at least for me. And then just gonna line under my eye. You can barely see that. I'm gonna line under my eyes like so. I don't think you can see anything at all because I can't. Okay, you can see on this side. Maybe I should just do stuff on this side because you can see it better. Okay, I'm pretty sure that it is a beauty filter on this thing because, or at least a lighting filter, because my face does not look like this in real life. But I don't know how to turn this off because when I switch over to my camera, it doesn't look this bright. So I will take a picture and insert it of what it looks like. Hello, it's day 3 of wearing or testing out the Tina Yong palette. Today I want to do a little bit more of a colorful look because outside it's actually quite nice and light. So I'm going to do a more colorful look. So I'm going to be setting my lids with the shade Sand, which is this shade in the middle on the top row. And just going to, oh, that's a lot more yellow than I thought it would be. Well, it's a lot more opaque, but from the past few days, we all know that this palette is very, very not pigmented at all. Opaque? No. Sheer. That's what I was looking for. Other side. So I do have my Urban Decay anti-aging primer potion on. I'm going to be using brushes today again. So going into the shade, if only I could read, Juicy, which is this, like, what is this, tangerine color down here. And I'm going to be applying that all over my lid. I know which colors I'm going to use, but I don't know where to put it. So, oh, that's actually quite pigmented compared to, you know, the last few days. I'm like, I guess swiping, except for the corner, to kind of lay down an outline for me to tap later. So, there we go. That's, what is this, peachy? Juicy. I was close. Next, I'm going to be taking the shade Seaside, which is this shade in the middle bottom row, and applying this to my lower thirds. I'm using a concealer brush, which is like this type of brush. You could use your finger, but I already messed up my inner corner and my finger is blue, so I don't really want to use my finger. I'm gonna go in with this shade right here. Problem is zooming in. Called Electric, which is a gold. And then just in a corner, go under a little bit to hopefully hide that blue that I totally didn't smudge earlier. So I'm gonna take another concealer brush. This one's clean. As you can see, there's no gold on it. I'm going to take the shade Melon, which is right here, and apply it on my lower lid because, well, I feel like the top is a little bit too heavy, so I want to add some color to the bottom. So I'm not going all the way in. I guess you could, but for my eye shape, I don't really like to have a complete ring around my eye. Other side, just maybe bring it a third of the way in or halfway in. So as you can see on this eye, I don't have a mole, but on this side I have a mole that kind of makes it really hard to get things even, and also my eye shape is not the same. I'm going to blend this eye out a little bit. Please clean up. I'm just taking a fluffy brush. This one is not clean, but it's not covered with something dark enough to mess up my look. And this side doesn't really need it. Okay, I'm just gonna focus on blending away this side. I think it's probably better. Okay, there we go. Good enough. So I'm gonna finish the rest of my brows and face makeup and then show you what it looks like zoomed out. So this is what the full look looks like zoomed out. I just have my usual makeup on. I didn't put anything on my lips because I want to test out some lip products, but yeah, this is what the colorful look would look like if I used the Tina Yong palette. So for today's look, I don't have any primer on my lids, and I'm going to be using my fingers. So let's get started. I'm also going to be doing a slightly different look. So I'm going to be taking the shade right here, which is called Depth. It would be good if you guys could see it. It's the second from the bottom on the far right. And taking it on my ring finger, I'm just going to dab it over the lower third where I normally would be applying my shimmer and metallics. Next, I'm going to be taking the shade at the very bottom right corner called After Dark. On the wrong finger. On my pointer. I meant to use my pinky, but this works too. And then I'm going to just pat until a third or halfway from like the front. I'm starting my lid to the back. Other side. I think you can still hear them, but there's not much I can do about that. I'm already filming. I'm not gonna stop part way for a leaf blower. Now that I have that done, I'm going to take a brush. You don't have to do this. And going back in with the same shade that I originally used all over my lid, I'm going to use the shade Depth and just take it on a, well, I don't have any more like brushes like this, so this is actually an eyebrow brush, but it's a little bit thick to use as an eyebrow brush, so I'm just going to go in on first the top because I don't want to ruin the bottom on accident because this is very dark, so go in like that. And then do the other side. Basically creating a V in my outer corner. So that's look number 4. I'm going to actually zoom out, finish my makeup, and show you what it looks like because I'm going to put on eyeliner, brows obviously, and also some mascara. So this is how the look turned out after I put on the rest of my makeup, which is like lipstick, my brows, and my liner, and my mascara. So I just blinked. Okay. My mascara wasn't dry. So I did my eyeliner. As you can see here, I pointed it down to kind of meet the, I guess the stencil I drew earlier for the V. And I did the same on the other side. So today my eyeliner points down, which kind of like, I don't know, I think it gives me like puppy eyes or something like that, supposedly. So yeah, that's how I would wear this look. And I use my fingers, there's no primer on. So yeah, that's the, I guess, darker look I would create using the Tina Yong palette. Hello. If you can hear a train, that's a train in the background. Anyway, so like I said earlier in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make eyeshadows really pop using several different ways. I'm going to be using the shade right here as an example, which is called Seaside, and it's a metallic shade. So this is for metallics. If you try with this with matte, I don't think it works, but yeah, I feel like the mattes in this palette don't really have an issue with not really, you know, popping. It is not very pigmented, but I feel like the metallics have more of a problem. So I'm just going to do a swatch, and I know my nails look whack. Taking my middle finger, I just swatched that. Maybe I need more. And so I'm going to show you what it looks like just as is. So that's kind of what it looks like. Yeah, it's obviously not as bright. So I'm going to actually use a brush. So the brush I have chosen is just this Wet n Wild eyeshadow brush. So I'm going to take the same shade, Seaside, on a brush. And now the birds are screaming. And I'm just going to draw a line. Yep. Look at all that pigment. So as you can see, if you just swipe it on, it's not very pigmented. What you could do is try and pack it on by tapping. That will give you a lot more color. That's normally what I do. I normally just swipe and then pack. You know, I swipe so I can get a guideline and then pack it in where I really want it to pop. But you're never going to get the same amount of impact as if you use your finger with just a brush. What I recommend using is the NYX glitter primer. This stuff works great. It's $6.50 here in the US. It's probably more expensive elsewhere because this is a US based brand. So you just want to squeeze a little. That's too much, but whatever. And then I'm going to apply it right under so you can see it. There. And you want to work with it while it's still kind of wet. There. Okay, good enough. So you can still see where I applied it. And then if you take a brush, because I don't really recommend using your finger, tap off the excess and just apply it on. Especially if you dab, I don't really recommend swiping. Look at that. See, even the crows outside are impressed. But look at that. Wow. Okay. If you do not have this primer, as you saw, I put way too much on my finger. So obviously it's going to pop a lot more. You can also use a black eyeshadow. I'm going to just grab the first black eyeshadow I can see. So I'm using the one from Persona Cosmetics. This is the shade Limitless. So I'm just going to take a clean finger and just swipe it down like so, and then I'm going to take Seaside again and apply it over the top of it. As you can see, it's not quite the same color, but it definitely does pop a lot more than, say, this just bare finger swatch. So yeah, those are my tips on how to make these, I guess, shimmer shades really stand out.